But let's just read this tweet from Brian Habana. So proud, my comrade, our captain. Thank you for inspiring in a way which transcends the four lines and transforms a nation. And then Tom Hamilton, Rassie Erasmus, pressure in South Africa is not having a job, it's having friends or family murdered. Rugby is not about pressure, it's about hope. Hope is watching the game and feeling good after, no matter how your religious or political differences for 80 minutes. You agree. You have coached in South Africa, and we sometimes can look through the window at it and feel that we know what's going on there. You've coached for Durban and for the Sharks. Just tell us what you've learned and how you think it's going to affect South Africa.
I hope they do use it as a positive platform. They've got some, we know they've got some serious issues. There's corruption there, there's extreme poverty, hunger, and, murders taking place all the time. It's still a very good place to visit, by the way. But that's the reality of it, and that's very, very true. And I think Rassie Erasmus, your quote just then, I think people ask about what cost England the World Cup. South Africa turned up with their best game. And they didn't feel the pressure because he said, actually, this is real life pressure. This is the opportunity to deliver hope to a nation that needs it. And after 95, people spoke about that, about how it would bring people together. I'm not so sure it did as much as it could have done. And I just hope the powers that be and everyone involved in rugby and, the sports ministers and the government make sure that this is a positive platform for change in South Africa, because it is a wonderful, wonderful place and it does need it.
Yeah, sorry, Ugo. Yeah, go on.
So I was just going to look at, just some of the examples. I look at Mapimpi, who's been outstanding. I think it's 13 tries and 13 tests, and it was his chip and chase and effectively his try which broke the camel's back, wasn't it? It was the straw that broke the camel's back. I was reading up on his story yesterday. The guy's 29 years old. He's only been a professional rugby player for a few years. And what rugby's given him is a way out. It's given him hope. It's given him opportunity. 29 years old. His mother's dead. His brother and his sister both were killed. And when you look at those stories and you look at the impact that rugby can make, rugby's effectively fostered him and has given him an opportunity to make something of his life, to be able to inspire other people. You look at the captain, Siya Kolisi, the first ever black captain for South Africa. He's a guy that pretty much came from the bush and worked his way up. And that kind of inspirational story, which we don't hear in this country because very few people come from those kind of positions. It's a case of coming out of state school playing for England. That in terms of the meteoric rise, which you can see in some of the South African players, that's exactly why, as much as I'm devastated for England, I'm so happy for South Africa.
And that's exactly why this is slightly different to 95 and 2007, is in 95, there's only one black player, and it was still really a white man's game, so to speak, in South Africa, and that was Chester Williams. And here we have so many stories, Siya Kolisi, Lukanya, Mapimpi, actually icons and examples of where it can take you.
Rassie Erasmus, he originally came in almost as a director of rugby for South Africa, got rid of the coach, took that role on himself, and in 15 months he's turned them around from a team that lost to Italy, was nilled by the All Blacks. Suddenly they are world champions. And this is not us thinking we played our part in that, but he made the decision to recall players from the Premiership. Up until then, it was kind of like Australia's rule: if you play 30 times for South Africa, you can go abroad. Glenn, how important was it that he had access to a FAF de Klerk?
Oh, massive.
To Mostert?
Massive. Those guys are the game changers, and you look at the influence they're having on the contest, then on the field, they're as leaders. But I think the broader context of what Rassie Erasmus has done is he's provided leadership. And I think when you talk about the bigger picture, well, he's created now a group of leaders that can perhaps go back to their communities and inspire. Because one way you can make positive changes through education. So if these leaders are out there educating, and he's set that environment up, so yes, he's the director of rugby, but he's taken on the head coaching role. He may decide to bring another man in to do that over the next tenure, but he's provided stability, leadership, opportunity, and with that comes the educated growth that he's hoping will help the rest of the country. Now, he's done a small part to take that step forward, but I think you can't underestimate the legacy that he will leave by inspiring these guys to become those leaders. And the access to players here who are playing in a very, very tough competition, toughest in the world, they've had a massive influence on this tournament. And, hats off to him for the structure and the environment that he's created.